Hey everybody, how you doing? I hope you're having a wonderful day, night, morning, evening, afternoon, whatever you're having. I hope you're enjoying yourself. Welcome to a brand new Ike Live Show 2.0, and we've got a great one for you today. Joining us in just a second for the first time, very excited to have on the show the one and only Drew Cook. Very, 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 very excited to talk to Drew. It's going to be a great show. Also, let me remind you, please send your comments if you're watching this through the comment section on whatever platform you're watching on, because it's very, very important. We want to hear your questions. We want to hear who you want to talk to. Send that information in. We watch it. I watch it regularly. So please send in your comments. Also want to thank the supporters of this show. Of course, Mystery Tackle Box. It's like Christmas to your doorstep once a month. Listen to me, guys. If you want some of the latest tackle, lures, colors, techniques, stuff that you might not normally find on your own, if you want it delivered right to your doorstep, this is the way to do it. Head on over to mysterytacklebox.com. Use the promo code Ike Live. You're going to get 30% off your first Elite box and 50% off your first Pro box. That's half off, guys, your first Pro box, mysterytacklebox.com. Also, shout out to the Ike Foundation organization to help get kids fishing. If you want to help, head on over to the ikefoundation.org. Lots of ways to get involved in growing the sport. I'm going to get right to it, guys. Oh, real quick, too. By the way, thank you for everyone that's sent notes, emails, and texts about this new format. This is Ike Live 2.0. It's been really fun getting a chance to get a little more up close and personal with these guys. Some of the best fishermen in the world, some of the best personalities in the sport of fishing. It's been a lot of fun. So thank you for all the well wishes on this new format. But I want to get right into it. Joining us here on Ike Live for the first time, we've got the one and only Drew Cook. Yo, man. Yo.
How's it going?
How you doing?
I can't complain. Just, enjoying some time, not driving.
All right. First thing, I want to address two things that we talked about right before we came live, which is your shop. Never apologize for a messy shop, because I'm looking at that and it's like organized confusion. It looks exactly like my shop. I love it. I love to see all that stuff back there like that.
Yeah, like right here, I finally got to unpack like all the stuff out of my truck, because we're going to be off for a month and then we're going smallmouth fishing, so I don't have to take near as much stuff. I've got probably 150 rods just, leaned up, took them out of the truck just so I can actually have a truck again. Most of the year I don't have the back of my truck because it's always packed, and you still move stuff around to where you're going, put stuff closer to get to, but it's always full because you don't ever know what you're going to need.
I'm with you. I'm a big hoarder, and I actually, traveling from New Jersey, I'm in a worse place than you because I can never, it's hard for me to get home. So I have to pack it all. But Drew, how much are you cutting your tackle for the Northern Swing? Give us a percentage. Is it in half? Is it 30%? What do you think?
I'm probably cutting it 70%.
Wow. 70. That's amazing.
I mean, there'll be a little bit more, for probably St. Clair, because you're going to have, the crankbaits and stuff like that. But besides that, it'll be pretty straightforward what I'll take.
All right. So what I'm hearing, without you directly telling me, do you plan on not ever making a cast for a largemouth in the next 3 events? Nope. Is that true?
Yep, not one.
Wow. Not even on Champlain?
Nope.
Wow.
I might, keep a glide bait and like a top water and maybe a flipping jig, just for when you get bored. But man, Champlain over the past 3 years has changed so much. Like you're digging yourself a really big hole messing with them largemouth. Yes, you can catch 5-pound largemouth, and mixed bags do good all the time, but the smallmouth are so much bigger now with the gobies getting in there. I mean, it's the the old 16-pound smallmouth bag is now 19 pounds, and the old 19 pounds is 23 pounds. So it's all changing.
Yeah, so true, so true. The other thing we talked about right before we came live, which I think is fun. It's funny to me because it makes me realize how darn old I am. But we were talking about, were you ever on a show before? Yeah, and I said sometimes 8 or 9 years ago I've had people on and I forget. And you said, what did you say when I said 8 or 9 years ago?
I had just got out of high school 8 years ago.
Oh, that's so awesome, man. That's so awesome. So 8, 9 years ago, you were coming out of high school, entering into college, and what 8 or 9 years ago, what was your mindset? What were you thinking? Like, because I sort of remember. I mean, when I was in high school, it was when the dinosaurs were walking around, but I still remember, and like I remember my mindset of my dream. Like I had a dream, but then I had like a reality safety valve. What was your mindset coming out of high school?
I was going to do this. I didn't know, at that point in time exactly how it was going to happen, but that was it. I went to school, and kind of tried to do as much at college to help me where I'm at now. Take entrepreneurship
Right.
class and marketing, stuff like that. Stuff that'll help me sponsor wise. And I was going to get my degree, and then I was going to, fish the opens to qualify for the elites. But all through college, I fished the nation. I fished the college stuff. Still trying to, any way I could get there to the classic, but I couldn't, just fully commit to it yet. And I didn't want to get so close to, to getting a degree and then, go off and, start fishing and then never have that. I spent a lot of time, getting that degree, and I wanted it. So that's what I did. I graduated college, and right after I graduated college, I started fishing the open. I was working full time, and luckily, I was able to get off, for the tournaments. That was the year they had 2 divisions, and was fortunate enough for everything to, go to plan, because I really didn't have a backup plan. It was this or nothing.
That to me, I love that, because I think when I was that age, 18, 19, I was so scared that it wouldn't work. I had a plan B, and I actually kind of had like a plan C too. But that's interesting. So no plan B, like 100% focus, dedication. This is what I'm going to do.
Yeah. The whole time through high school and college, I was working in construction, and I mean, if, I would have spent every dollar I had and been broke, I could have gone back and, swung a hammer and stuff like that.
Right.
But
that's awesome.
No, it was fishing. That was all it was.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I think there's strength in that. I think there's strength in not having a B or a C, because I think sometimes when you have a B and a C, you tend to veer off course if things aren't gone right, and maybe that's a better strategy. And success, you can't deny it. So here's what I want to tell you. Is this your 4th or 5th year this year? What is this? 5th, 4th?
My 5th, yeah.
5th year. All right, I want to say this in a way. This isn't a negative. This is a positive. Drew, this is your 5th year. I feel like you've been fishing forever. It's such a weird, like, I can't explain it, but like, I'm a big fan of the sport, and a lot of younger guys get in, and they still feel like young rookies to me. Like 10 years later, 20 years later, they're like, yeah, that's that new kid, Dude, you've only been fishing 5 years. I feel like you've been here forever.
I feel like I've been here for forever too, but it's still. I mean, I've been very fortunate, all the way through my career. From the opens to college, all the way here to the elites. There's still a lot of things I'm learning. Really. I feel like I'm just starting to get to where I'm fishing actually good.
Right.
The decision. I mean, there's so much more into this. It's not
Yeah.
just catching fish. Like,
Oh yeah.
there's no telling how many, actual, like, the bites that you get that you don't catch, how your season could go from making 2 cuts that year to making every cut and being 4th in AOI. It's all
Yes.
about, a couple bites that came off.
Yeah.
But I'm still learning really how to practice. That's
Yeah.
been a big deal for me. And it showed a lot in years past. My day ones were always terrible because I'd practice so broad and, only spend a little bit of time that I'd have to look at everything day one of the tournament, and it ended up costing me.
Yeah.
And I would settle down, and then day 2, do good throughout the rest of the tournament.
Yeah. Yeah. I think certain things in your fishing get better as your career goes on. But let me say this real quick. I got some notes. Everybody listening and watching right now, only 5 years, Drew, you've got 13 top 10s. That's insane. I'm pulling this off the Bass site, so I hope this is right. 13 top 10s. Of course, a win. Amazing win. So a blue trophy already. Here's a big one. Your first year, Rookie of the Year, ROI, which is nothing to sneeze at. That's an amazing title. And then, like, as an exclamation point, dude, a great portfolio of sponsors. Like seriously, like 5 years in, a lot of dudes have their name on the side of the boat because nobody's giving them any support. And you've got an amazing portfolio of sponsors, including AFCO, a few that we work with together. Here's the question. It's an easy one because we got high school and college anglers right now listening to this podcast on the way to a tournament. And this is what they want to do. They're you, 9 years ago, right? They're you. And they're saying, how the hell did Drew do this in 5 years? Do you have an answer for that?
Well, I mean, sponsor-wise, I was very, very, very fortunate. The sponsors that I have were the sponsors that I wanted. There's nothing. I had a list of sponsors that I liked their product. I believed in their stuff that I wanted to work for, and I really just wasn't gonna do anything else. I wasn't just gonna get some money, because your rookie year, the money's not that good anyway. But I don't want to sell something to somebody that I don't believe.
Right.
So I actually had to beg the guy Les from Big Bite before Brandon started working there. He was in charge of the team, and I annoyed him so much that he finally, gave me a shot. And if that, I wasn't going to use anything else. That's just what I believed in, and stuff I've used my whole life. And it was the same with AFCO. There was a mutual friend that has a dealer down here for AFCO that put me in contact with them. And I was, already wearing their stuff and liked their stuff, and was fortunate enough to get with them. And I told all of them in 2019, my rookie year, I said, my plan moving forward is to grow old with y'all.
Yeah.
However we need to get there. I've turned down some really good deals in the past couple of years to, other companies, but they were what I thought would be like a 2-year thing, a lot of money in 2 years and then gone.
Right.
And I feel like, or at least for me, the way it was whenever I was watching this before I was on the Elites, the people that had the same names on their jerseys every year, those were the products that I would buy. Not the guy that every year has a different rod sponsor, a different bait sponsor, whatever. That didn't really sit with me, where if I was going to spend money, it was going to be the people that kept their sponsors.
Yeah, that's a great. I'm so glad you said that, because I think that gets under talked about, which is having a trust, right? Actually believing in the product and creating long-term relationships. They're two great goals to have in the fishing game for sponsors. I I've been lucky. I've been lucky to have a lot of really long-term relationships like what you're talking about. So that's a great lesson for people watching and listening. Let me talk about something else, which is a great fact, but I want to get your take on it. So 5 years in, every year so far, you've qualified for the Classic, right? So you got to that's a hard, dude, listen, that's a hard thing to do. You got this amazing streak going. And I asked you this question because I had it. I had this streak going where I had like 20 in a row leading up to when I left Bass for a little bit. And toward the end, it was this, I'm trying to think of the right way to say it. Dude, I had this unbelievable pressure to continue that streak. This is early in your career, but do you feel that already? Do you feel
absolutely?
Is that you do, don't you?
Absolutely.
Talk about that, because I think people don't understand that. Talk about that.
The pressure, just period, is not. I mean, it's unbelievable. I guarantee you, there's more people that fish on the Elite Series that are under 35 years old on blood pressure medicine than any other sport, any other professional athlete. I mean, from the preseason meeting at Okeechobee, you're already, you have that pressure to make enough money to qualify, requalify, to make the Classic, and every tournament is the same way. And say day one of Okeechobee, you don't catch them.
Yeah.
That pressure is even that much more, and a lot of times your whole season can be ruined in the first event. It can be made or ruined, and especially whenever now you have a family and you have kids. Man, the pressure is unbelievable, and nobody really understands just how much pressure all of us put on ourselves.
Yeah, just
to make a living and support our families. And to make that Classic, because there is no way you can win the Classic if you're not fishing. It's impossible.
Right.
And you have to make that Classic every year. And that's an additional at least 10 grand. So, you got the money value of it, but also with the sponsors, when the sponsor looks and every year you've made the Classic, you look better than the guy that's only made it 3 out of 5 years or 2 out of 5 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, everything boils down to all that.
Yeah, it's a big deal, and it is a lot of pressure. And I think for you, there's more because of that consecutive thing. And I hope you do it 20 years in a row, 30 years in a row. It'd be an amazing feat. But there is a lot of pressure, and I'm glad you talked about that, because the casual fan, I think, doesn't realize that, And we're super lucky with what we get to do. Dude, we're very blessed to make a living doing
absolutely.
it. But dude, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of ups and downs. It's a lot of heartache. It's a lot of I mean, there's normal things that other people experience in their occupation. We experience here too. Maybe 10% of the pros don't have that pressure. Like if you're independently wealthy or something, maybe not. But like regular dudes, like I consider you kind of a regular dude, blue collar guy. A lot of pressure.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, and to think, before you ever make a cast, you're already in the hole $45,000. I mean, straight out the gate.
Crazy.
And I mean, you have to make 5 cuts just to recoup that money, and then you can start making money. And it's tough. I mean, it really is. And with how much the sport's grown, and how many people are in it, it's hard to do it on sponsor dollars. And I would love to see it where you could make money just off cash and checks.
Yeah.
But we're not there yet. And man, it's just, people think that, you're just out there fishing. You just get to go fishing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's not. No. It's not like that. I want to switch gears and so I was in hiatus for a little bit, not fishing any of the tours, and I was a huge fan of watching the lives. I still am. Last year, I didn't catch a bass all year, so I got to watch a lot of lives on the third and fourth day. And even this year, I watch as many of those live final days as I can because I enjoy it as a fan. And I've had so much fun watching you and learning from you, especially when you're sight fishing. This question's for me, straight up. How the hell did you get so good at sight fishing? Because I'm dude, I don't stink at it, but I'm not very good. I'm like out of 10, I'm like a 4.25. How did you get so good at it? Because it's so fun watching you sight fish.
Well, where like me and Benton grew up, here to win tournaments from January to the beginning of May, most of them, were sight fishing tournaments. We had a very long period to sight fish, and you had to be good at it to compete. And I love hunting, and it's kind of the best of both worlds. You're hunting while you're fishing, but being able to do it that long here where we grew up is what made us so good, or what made us good at it. And it's my favorite thing to do. I love knowing, what I'm fixing to catch and not, hoping and praying for,
you see
for
it.
a bite.
Yeah, you know what you're throwing at. Right. Yeah. It's interesting because like when I was at an early stage and I was watching the sport, like when I was in high school and college and stuff, Shaw Grigsby was the guy and Guido Hibden were the guys, and they're using spinning rods with these little tubes and light line, and that's how my introduction to sight fishing. And you guys have debunked that entire thing. Why is that? Why did it start with that? And now you're throwing big rods and stuff.
I would. Honestly, it was probably a personal preference. Like, there was one time that Shaw had a fish that was really weird and wasn't acting right, and he put that little white grub on and colored the head of it red, and it bit it. There you go. That's the bait. That's the one you use, and that's how a lot of it goes. I mean, it really doesn't matter. I mean, you can catch them on a hot dog.
Right.
It's just about getting them fired up and finding their sweet spots and stuff. Now, there's some baits that I feel personally work a lot better than others. Some that I've done really well with, but you can get the fish to bite anything. You can get the fish to bite 80-pound braid. It doesn't matter. So why
All right, hold on.
Type of guy.
Yeah, I got you. We got you, Drew. Yeah, we lost you for a second, but we got you.
Well,
that's amazing because
I've never been a spinning rod guy.
Right. I'd much rather catch them on the big stuff. You feel better when you hook them on the big stuff, especially when there's a lot of cover around. I'll be honest. Watching you, I learned something, and probably like a few years back. It wasn't recently, but when I had my break, I learned something from you that I've actually named after you. So you have a name for this technique. Yeah, it's the Drew Cook shake. And I directly copied the way that you tap that rod, and I've used it. I've utilized it this year, in fact, to catch some fish. So thank you for that, man. That was awesome technique.
Yeah. I didn't come up with that. There's going to be a lot of comments about how somebody else on YouTube created that.
Yeah.
I've been doing that for a very long time, since I was probably 10 years old or something. It was taught to me a little bit different. And like if you watch Drew Benton, he does the same thing. He just does it a little bit different. We're the same results happening, just doing it a little different. But that's what you do to move the bait without moving the bait. That makes sense to some people and doesn't make sense to a lot of people. But getting that bait to move as much as possible without actually pulling it out of the bed is where all that came from. And if instead of getting them to bite, like if you're hopping it in front of their face, your catch to land ratio is significantly lower when you do that. A lot of times you'll hair lip them and lose them coming to the boat. Probably about 40% land ratio. But whenever you're shaking it, if they'll eat it off the bottom, it's probably 95% land ratio.
Wow. Yeah, just a better hookup percentage, better hook in their mouth, and better land. If you're watching or listening, I invite everyone to just Google it. Google Drew Cook bed fishing, and I'm sure a million things come up, but incredible. We got a lot of people watching that are like me, that are not very good at it, or they're mediocre at it. In addition to that technique, give us one or two more, just real general, what can we do? What can guys that struggle do to be more effective?
Number one would be cut your selection down. I mean, I see people a lot that, every minute or so, 2 minutes are changing baits. And the way you have to think about it is it takes this long to get him to bite. When you have one bait and you use it for this long and you get another bait, you start all the way back over and you still got this long. It's the same thing with the angle. Like if you're working a fish one way, and you've spent 15, 20 minutes working a fish this way and you move, you have to start back over. But a lot of times, if there is a better angle, if a fish wants to sit a certain way, there is a better angle, then move and do that. But if, when you move, you have to start back over. So slim down your bait selection and keep it super simple, something that mimics a brim. And, just play with it, spend the time with it, and whenever you see some on bed, it doesn't even have to be, great big ones, it can be little ones. But if there's a little pair, and they're a 2-pound male and a 2.5-pound female, spend the time to figure out how to catch that female before you catch the male. Right. Because that's what's gonna make the difference. If you can efficiently catch the females first, because depending on what stage they're in of the spawn, if you catch that male first, that female can very easily leave. Right. And like Lake Murray this year, those were some of the weirdest bass I've ever fished for in my life when it came to bedding. I had one the first day that was about 9 pounds, and I caught the male off the bed. I was making a really long cast to it, caught the male off the bed, and it was a 3.5 pounder. And I put him in the box, and whenever I stood up, I saw the female up there. I threw up there, the female swam off, and she never came back. I threw the male back, and neither one of them ever came back. I had that happen twice that week where I threw the male back and neither bass got back up there. A lot of times you can just throw them back, and it might take a little while to get ease back into it, but they'll get back up there. And I also saw one female that got courted by 3 different males. Like she was on this bed, locked on, rubbing with the male. I was able to beat her off of him, and they were side by side in the bed. And I was getting the male fired up to where he was biting it every pitch. And the female was easing her way up. And another male from about 20 feet away came and grabbed the female and pushed her all the way over to that bed. And so I started working that male, and another male, not the one that I started with, another male actually courted it, and I ended up catching the bass. But I caught 2 of the males and left 1 male and left for an hour and came back and was able to catch her.
Wow. That's amazing. That sounds like a scene from the movie Boogie Nights, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was some weird stuff. I don't understand that place.
So I want to go back though, like great bed fishing tips. And that I actually just learned something, because I always thought you had to change baits every 15 minutes, but the way you described it, it totally makes sense. How hard was it when you let that 3.5 pound male go? Did you have a limit? Was that a fish that helped you, or was that
was the first fish I caught?
So First fish you caught in the morning, 3.5 pounder, which is a good one, even for Murray. You let it go.
Mm-hmm.
Woo! Drew, you got balls of steel. I would never do that. I'm just telling you. You got balls of steel. I would never, ever do that in a tournament. That is amazing.
But that's the game, though. That's the bed fishing game. Whenever I won Santee, I did it twice. I never had a limit either time. I threw back a 4-pound male the first day, but it was a 7-pound female, and I was able to catch the 7-pound female and was able to leave the 4-pound male and ended up catching it on day 3. So it worked out really well. And then on day 3, I ended up throwing back a 3-pound male and catching a one almost 8.
That's incredible, dude. I can't even. I'm so glad we're talking about this because I didn't know that story. I know you probably told it before, but I didn't personally know it, dude. I cannot even wrap my hands around that. Like, I'm blown away because I can never do it. It's probably why I stink as a bed fisherman. I can never do that. That is incredible. That's incredible.
And I mean, like, you gotta kind of be able to feel the fish out too. Like, if you know that fish is weird and not really wanting to get up there, obviously I'm not going to throw one back where it's going to swim off. But if I think that me throwing it back is going to get that female back up there,
right,
absolutely I'll do it. And
wow.
I've had it go the other way too. I've had a big female on a bed with a 2-pound male, and my smallest fish in my live well is a 3.5 pounder. I've caught the 2-pound male and thrown a 3.5 pounder back and kept the 2-pounder to catch the female.
To catch the big one. Wow. Man, it's just mind blowing because it's a whole nother piece of the fishing puzzle that I'm not good at, that it makes me very interested in it. Like I got to go back and listen to more of your seminars and Bash U seminars that you've done, because I got to get like that shit never even crosses my mind when I'm bed fishing. And I've been doing it for 30 years professionally. So that's crazy. That's crazy.
It's a very hard way to win a 4-day tournament. Very
wow.
hard.
Wow. I think my background, like, you and Drew have grown up in an area where you've got so good at this because from a young age you've fished and seen it. And growing up here, our spawn is short. We actually have a closed bass season. The fishing stinks up here anyway. My home body of water is the Delaware River, where for a lot of years, if you caught 8 pounds, you were in the top 10. So I think for me, growing up, none of that ever crossed my mind, because how valuable every keeper is, I just never, it wasn't a part of my fishing history, but I love to hear those stories. Speaking of the other Drew, let's talk a little bit about it. What's it like traveling with Drew Benton? Tell me about that, because I know you guys have a really cool thing going. How is it traveling with Drew?
Well, for a little bit of backstory, we grew up fishing. He's older than me. He's about 6 years older than me, I think. And we grew up fishing, all the local team tournaments and stuff around here. All the, the bigger tournaments that we have locally. We fished against each other, for a long time. And he was the first one, really from around here, that made it to the professional side. He started fishing FLW in, I think, 2014, and then came over to the elites in 2016, and so when I fished the opens, I traveled with him for one division, and we said, well, I always said if we made it here, we would treat it like a business, and kind of go at it, to make money, and that's what we do. We share everything. We break stuff down. We, there's a lot of times that I won't even fish. Like if we were at the Sabine, say I wouldn't have even fished the Neches River, but Benton practiced in the Neches, and first day of the tournament, I go to the Neches because that's where the better bites were that Benton had found. we share everything. And you know, it people say, yeah, it's harder to win when you do that, but I honestly don't think so. But it saves you so many more times than not.
Yeah.
It most of the time, you know, like I have more confidence in the stuff that I found, and he has more confidence in the stuff that he found.
Right.
But it's that day 2 afternoon, and you know, you're one bite away from making the cut, and one of those dots is right over there, and you swing by there, and you know, get that bite and make the cut. It all works out. We don't do it quite like the Johnsons do, where we share our money,
Right.
but we share everything.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, we've had the Johnsons on. We've talked to the Johnsons about it, and a lot of other guys have a system that's very similar. The benefits I see pretty plain, but talk about the negatives. Are there negatives to traveling with Drew? Are there negatives to the system that you guys have in place?
You know, you could say there's a negative where, like, if you found something that was, you know, pretty good, but you would have it to yourself, where, like, you know, you could win off of it because, you know, it was good enough, but you had it to yourself. It wasn't the best, but
Yeah,
you know, there's a couple people doing that over there, but having it to yourself, and then, you know, you end up having to split it. But it's never really happened
right.
in the 5 years that we've been on the elites.
Yeah,
There's been some times where I've realized that I don't understand sometimes why some people can get bigger bites than others, but because I mean, I've had it where we have sat side by side throwing at the same stump.
yeah.
I catch 2-pounders and he catches 4-pounders.
Pounders.
It makes no sense. Throwing the exact same thing.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
but it's just one of those things where you just kind of got to roll with it.
yeah.
And when it comes to winning one of them, like, you've always heard it, and I'm sure you've said it, like, when it's your time, it's your time.
Oh, yeah.
And I finally got to experience that last year, and there is no doubt, when it's your time, it's your time. There's nothing you can do to change it, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. You just got to not trip yourself up.
So true. It's like getting struck by lightning, man. You know, whether you want to look at it from a philosophical viewpoint or a religious standpoint, whatever, however you view it, when it's going to happen, it happens. I did want to circle back, though, and I have to address this. And we've asked it to the Johnson brothers, and we've asked it to other guys. And even for me, you know, because early in my career, I traveled with Ish Monroe and John Cruz, and we had a similar system. Maybe not quite as detailed as what you guys had, but we had a similar system. And we've had a lot of comments over the years on this show from viewers saying it's not fair, saying, you know, and saying, they're basically saying, well, it's an individual sport and they're turning it into a team sport. How do you address that? Because, and again, I've done it in the past as well. So how do you address those folks?
I mean, NASCAR is an individual sport with teams, you know, but I mean, you don't see me hindering somebody else so that my partner can win, anything like that.
Right.
You know,
right.
And anyone can do it, but nobody really does it, because you have to really and truly fully trust somebody to be able to do it like this.
Right.
Because there's a lot of people that'll tell you a tidbit and leave out a big section of it, or like, you know, tell you, you know, throw a Ned rig on points, but they didn't tell you only Ned rig on the rocky points, you know, that are in 8 foot of water or whatever, you know, something huge that makes a big difference.
Right.
But I mean, I think it is an individual sport, and no matter what, you know, still the individual has to catch them. But I mean, I would ask those people, what about in the days before the no info, whenever anybody could get information from anybody? I mean, that's
the good old days.
That's way worse than what we got now.
Oh yeah. You know? Oh, and those stories are great. And we've had we've had Roland on the show, and man, some of the stories about what happened back in the day, it's incredible, man. It was like the Wild West of bass tournament fishing. That's crazy. I do want to talk also about, you guys have really amazing series going. That's how long have you had it for? Has it been 5 years, 4 or 5 years? It's called the Cut Line.
4 years.
4 years.
Yep,
It's so awesome, Joe. I love it. I'm a big fan of it. And for me, especially the behind the scenes stuff, like I enjoy that the most, even more than the fishing. But talk about that. Where did it come from? The concept that you guys love doing it. Talk about this thing a little bit.
I do. There's a couple different ways to look at it. I always looked for something that I could learn from on YouTube, and it wasn't always readily available. So that's why, we kind of started that. And then, as a sponsor side, that YouTube makes me different than a lot of other people.
Right.
It makes me more valuable.
Right.
And we knew it was going to be tough to, see any monetary value out of it, for a while. But sooner or later we would get there, and we're finally getting there now. But yeah, I mean, it's been very expensive, for 4 years. Spent a lot of money on that, but hopefully it'll one day, turn into something that's good. And I wanted to, show people what it's like. Show people, me and Benton sharing waypoints, after practice and going through everything, telling them this is where that was and that was where that was. Or seeing my graph after a bed fishing practice where I've got 720 bed fish marks, stuff like that you don't get to see.
Yeah, I love it. I love that reality aspect of it. And, you guys eating dinner and prepping tackle. Like, I love that part of it. And I remember in the heyday of bass fishing, when ESPN owned this Bassmaster, and this is probably early mid 2000s. I remember being approached by someone that wanted to do it. And I straight up was like, no. No, because I felt like it was going to be like a disruption in my routine. And, I felt like it was going to have a negative impact. Or, I'd be embarrassed or has any of that ever happened? Do you guys ever feel like that? Like, you're in the bathroom taking a dump, reading a map, and they're trying to video you. Any of that ever happen?
Not like that. I mean, sometimes it has, hindered you a little bit. Whether it be, waiting on your camera guy to, go somewhere, or, always having to, whether you add a +1 or whatever, or pick him up and take him to and from the airport, stuff like that. But it's never been like a bad, deal like that. Yeah. I've always enjoyed it, and it's been fun. And like I always wanted to see that stuff. I wanted to see like the shitty hotels and rooms and stuff that we stay in. We're trying to be, so we've gotten a little bit better now, but I mean, we used to get these little cabins that had 2 beds, like those little bitty, like storage sheds from Lowe's that have 2 beds and a bathroom in it, and we'd sleep 3 of us in there, and you could all hold hands, sing Kumbaya while somebody's going to the bathroom. Making sure your boat's charged out the window. Stuff like that people don't get to see.
I love it. Like I said, I love watching them. I love that aspect of it. And again, we talked about it earlier with the pressure, but I think for a lot of fans, they think it's NASCAR. They think we're flying to the location in a helicopter, and we're staying at luxurious, and I love that it shows the reality of the sport, just kind of like regular dudes for the most part, I love that. This one, I want to change gears one last time. And this one, I want you to be critical of yourself. And so for me last year, I'll give you an example. For me last year, on a scale from letter grades, we're going to go old school letter grades in middle school and high school. We're going to go to A to F. Last year for me, I give myself an F minus. It wasn't even a straight F. It was an F minus, but we're a little over halfway. In a lot of people's mind, you're having a great season, and you are. But give yourself a letter grade, Drew. Rate yourself this season, A to F. Give yourself a rating.
B minus.
B minus. Yeah. Yeah.
B minus. There were some things that have happened. It's really the tournament here on Seminole. I'd love to give anything to have that one back. I made some really big mistakes. But like Sabine, I'd like to have Sabine back. But I can't complain. But you can't get an A unless you're in first.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah. A B minus is a good score. Hey, in school, if I had A's and B's, I was happy. If I got a C, I was kind of like, it's all right. Talk about Seminole, though, because I think, like, for me, I relate 100%. I'll give you a quick example. When the Bassmaster came to Upper Chesapeake Bay, it's the tournament that Aaron Martins won. The first year they went to the Upper Chesapeake Bay. Drew, besides the Delaware River, that's my John. You know what I mean? That's my baby, right? And dude, I zeroed the first day. I didn't weigh a bass the first day. That's how bad it was. So I very much understand that home lake gifts and curses, right, at the same time. Talk about Seminole, because I think it's important for people. People are watching, listening, and they're going to have the same thing. They're going to have a tournament on their home pond. Talk about it a little bit this year. What happened this year?
For whatever reason, I did not want to bedfish for that tournament. I wanted to catch him off. I thought that's how I was going to catch him to win on a lipless and a crankbait. And really, up to the last day of practice, I thought I could. I thought, I was going to catch 25 to 29 pounds, fairly quick. The first day of the tournament, and I just kept forcing it. And like where the tournament was won, I didn't know it was that good. I'd have never in my life said it was that good. I thought you'd have caught 16 pounds a day there easily, and if you caught them really good one day, you catch 19, not 26 pounds and stuff like that. I just kept forcing that lipless bite and all that stuff. And every day at like 12 o'clock, I would go, oh God, got to save some points. Run up to the bank, sight fish for 2.5 hours, catch my fish and go in. So I did that for 3 days. After day one, I was like, I have to do that now because I have to find that school to win.
Right.
I should have just caught everything I could catch, however, bed fishing, up shallow, stuff like that, make the top 10 and then do stupid stuff, or try something, to really make up some ground.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was one of those, I fished for 2 fish on bed, during that tournament that were both over 7 pounds that, I run out of time on one and caught the male on the other one, and it just wasn't happening. And then like for whatever reason, I would see somebody go into a place and I would just automatically write it off. I'm like, oh, they already found them.
Yeah.
They caught the one that I was going in there to catch or whatever. And I've never done that before. And like a lot of the fish that were on bed in some of those places were like, if you didn't know that there might be a fish on bed right there, most people would never look there. Like they would be looking the other way. And that really, really hurt me. And like not fishing like major community holes.
Right.
like where you caught them.
Like
I
where
mean,
I
that
fished.
was, there's all, yeah, that
Yeah.
was, no, there's always a really good group of fish there.
Yeah.
And like, I didn't know until after somebody showed me a clip from live the first day, like 2 or 3 weeks ago, that there was a lot of people that caught them right there.
Oh, a lot.
Like
A
first
lot.
thing,
Yeah.
Welcher wrecked him there.
Yeah.
But I came in there, I spent 10 minutes maybe, fished
Yep.
down, kept on going.
Kept
You know,
going. Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and like after your first spot, really, you're only fishing for a bite. One fish every spot you go to, and I
Yeah.
just never even gave it a chance.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and then I never went back because like I'm not that guy that And I saw you there and somebody else there. Like I'm not that guy that's just gonna go there because I saw you catch him there. I had
Yeah.
to go do my other stuff. But
Yeah. That was
it's
awesome.
just
That was awesome. The second morning. So the first morning I was boat 13 and I got there first and I just literally I told you the story, I think in Bagline, but I power pulled down, stayed there the whole first day, never left, Second day I'm boat. Now I'm on the reverse, right? And I get there, Drew, there are 5 boats on that little reed head point. 5 boats. I come off pad, I start idling in. 4 of the 5 had the courtesy to at least troll away, but one of them just stayed. And I just, I got a different attitude. Like 20 years ago, I would have been very combative, but like, I think I'm just getting older and I'm getting tired. I think my testosterone is getting lower or whatever, but I just kind of was like, hey, they biting, and just power pull down next to them. It's kind of like, whatever. But it's great. Here's the thing. We all hate the fail, and I can hear it in your voice. You hate failure. I hate failure, but there are lessons. There are lessons in failure. We just lost Drew, but he'll come right back here. Hopefully there are lessons in failure. And, if you take what happened and learn from it, it's going to better you down the road. Right. So, 100%, dude, it's hard to stomach when it's happening, but we got you back. I was just saying,
okay.
Failure stinks. Failure stinks, but I'm so glad like you're able to be analytical about it after it happens, right? And like, the big lesson is don't be hard-headed. Don't fish history. Don't make the fish do something. Fish the fish, right? I'm hearing all that loud and clear. And it's hard to stomach when it's happening, but failure is good. Like making those mistakes in the long run is good, For sure.
Absolutely.
For sure.
And like,
yeah,
we saw it with Lee Livesey the first year we went to Fork, and then
yeah.
After that, every other time we go there, he wins. Like he learned a lot from that first year.
Yeah. Are you secretly hoping they come back to Seminole next year? Do you have like your fingers and toes crossed that Seminole's on the list?
Say what now?
Do you have your fingers and toes crossed that Seminole will be on the list for next year?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would love to do that again. I'd like to have another shot. And honestly, man, I just want us to keep coming back here for the community to see that, what it does for the community and what it does for the lake, because there's nothing else around. That's our only driving force to bring people here is that lake, and having us down there and showcasing it, will help a lot. And it's a phenomenal fishery. It really is. And
it is.
I mean, it was really weird, whenever we were there this past time, especially in practice. But I mean, I've seen some unreal things on Lake Seminole that if we would go back there, we're bound to see them sooner or later. I definitely think 100 pounds would easily be broken there. I think you could see him catching them how you did in 2003, or how Joey caught them, or sight fishing, topwater, anything that around that time of year. But I don't know. Since you caught those fish up there at Butler Creek, they hadn't been there since 2003.
I caught them all. I chased them out. I don't know what happened. I would love to go back to Seminole, not just because I won there, but I agree with you. I think it's a tremendous fishery. I would love them to go back. Here's the weird thing, though, Drew. I've had my fingers crossed for the Delaware River since 2014, and they haven't come back. So I don't know if this works or not. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, I hope we do. I'd like to see, you know, us go to Seminole and Eufaula. Those are both really good lakes, and they both have a lot of history. And you know, it'd be a great back to back. You know, they're an hour apart from each other. It would be really good.
It would be. Well, I hope we go back. And Drew, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show, dude. It was awesome to finally have you on. And we've got a couple more weeks of our break. We've got ICAST, and then it's on to the Northern Swing. I just lost Drew again. I don't know, bad connection. Thank you, Drew Benton, for coming on. Really, really appreciate it. Great to hear perspective from a young angler like that. Only 5 years into his career. Drew, I'm putting you back. I put you back through real quick. I keep losing you. It might be me, but dude, thank you for coming on. Thank you for coming on the show. It's so great to have you on Ike Live finally. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you inviting me. I'll do it anytime. I love doing these things. Love getting to know really everybody. You know, I mean, we've talked a couple of times in the bag line, but and I remember when you were talking about grading yourself earlier last year. I don't remember where we were. You said, "Man, I'm just trying to stay out of somebody's way this year."
It's so true.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah. It's them tough years are hard to swallow, but you got to keep going. Drew, thank you for coming on. I'll probably see you at ICAST, and then we'll see you at the Northern Swing. Have a good time in your little off season. And real quick, just as a final note, what is your son's name?
What is what?
Your son. His name is Finn, correct?
His name is it's Finley Cook, but we call him Finn, Fin.
Your son has the coolest name in the world. I thought no one could top my son's name, which is Vegas, but your son's name is way better. It's way better.
Well, I appreciate it. That is a good name too, though. I don't disagree.
It's okay. It's not better. It's not better than Finn or Finley, but it's okay. Drew, thanks for coming on the show. I'll see you down the road, and we'll see you up at the Northern Swing as well.
Thank you, Ike. I appreciate it. Y'all have a good day.
You got it. See you, Drew. All right, there you have it, everybody. Drew Cook. Yes. Finally got Drew on the show. So awesome. One of the young guys, man, and success early in his career. It's unbelievable. Once again, we want to thank our sponsors, Mystery Tackle Box. Head on over to mysterytacklebox.com. Use the promo code Ike Live. You're going to get 30% off your first Elite Box, 50% off your first Pro Box. It's like Christmas to your doorstep. You got to get it. I get it. You got to get it. Also, the Ike Foundation. Get kids fishing. Go over to ikefoundation.org. It's going to be great. You're going to learn a lot over there about how to help grow the sport. Thank you very much, and we'll see you on the next show. Bye! You know, right now where we're standing, we're in Camden, New Jersey.
Yeah.
Philadelphia is right there. This is the concrete jungle. And, you know, a lot of those kids, as they grow up, they don't fish. It's interesting because they're surrounded by water, you know, the Delaware River, the Schuylkill, ponds, city park lakes, but they don't have the influence to cast, to fish, to have a rod and reel. And that became our focus, you know, is to target kids in what we call non-traditional areas, you know, urban areas, city centers, where the population's high, and let these kids have the experience. You know, it's amazing. I mean, some of the experiences we've had, whether it's Central Park in New York City, here in Camden, other parts of the country, even just casting.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable to see it, isn't it?
Yes.
It's unbelievable.
Yes.
And you know, you see these kids have this experience they've never had, and they light up, you know? The big thing I think for the Ike Foundation is we're not saying we want all these kids to become professional anglers.
Yeah.
Be great if some of them did, but we want them to have that fishing experience because it ties them to so many other positive things. The outdoors, nature, conservation. Ecology, you know, all these amazing things in life that maybe they wouldn't have been exposed to any other way. We're trying to help with that. So it's important. It's important for us.
Yeah.
We're proud of it.
I subscribe to Bass U TV, and so should you.
Great place to learn about anything you want to know about bass fishing.
You get it at Bass U. We got the best of the best.
I'm not just an instructor, I'm a subscriber.
I'm John Cruz, and I am a subscriber.
You can always learn, and watching Bass U is definitely helps with that. It's something that I like to do, and it's definitely something that you need to do.
If I'm still learning, you should be too.
Subscribe to Bass U because you'll learn how to catch a lot more fish.